That's the way I remember him. Evil. He couldn't even look at the camera because he knows what he did was wrong. That evilness, that he didn't even care or had no remorse in what he did. But he is where he's supposed to be, in hell. This is Laura. She looks totally different from the way I had remembered her. It's evil. You can just see it in her eyes. She took my childhood from me. She got what she deserved. My aunt and uncle were evil people. I wanted to kill them in their sleep because I was in so much pain. That's how far they pushed me. Just almost becoming a murderer. I think that's why that it's hard for me to remember, because I try to not remember that part. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. I have 2 siblings. My sister was the oldest, then it was me, and then my brother. Not stable enough to watch me and my siblings. She was a drug addict and she had problems drinking as well. So CPS took us away. And I was about 9 years old at that time. Chevel was my mom's brother.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi. It was scary, confusing, really sad, but I was relieved because I always stay together as a family. Looking back, I wish I ended up being separated and with strangers. I remember being home alone with my Uncle Chevel, and I remember him grabbing my leg and rubbing my feet. And then his rubbing started going up gradually on my legs. And it felt wrong. And he did look at me and he did say, I don't want you to tell nobody about this, not even your Aunt Laura. This is our secret. So I felt like it was something that wasn't supposed to be happening. I felt very nervous and scared and confused, so little, and I didn't know if it was right or wrong. In the days and times that followed, I didn't feel comfortable being around him. I think avoiding my uncle made him find other ways to be alone with me. And the abuse started getting worse. In the bedroom that I shared with my older sister, we had a bunk bed. and I slept on the top, and my sister slept on the bottom. We would leave the hall. I remember seeing like a shadow underneath the doorway. I would hear the door creaking or hearing my Uncle Chevo climbing up the ladder to get onto the bed with me. Knowing that he was climbing into my bed was very scary. I didn't understand what was going on or what he was doing in the bed with me. He touching me the way he was. First time that my uncle touched me, I was about 9 years old, and it was like that for a few years, and it progressed. The first time that he raped me, I was 12 years old in middle school. I did hope that my sister would hear or maybe catch him one time or something, but she never did. I really didn't understand what was going on, so I didn't know how to defend myself. As a kid, I didn't. At some point, I did tell my Aunt Laura that I needed to tell her a secret, and she said, okay. We went to her room and we sat on her bed, and I told her, Uncle Chevo has been getting into the bed with me and, touching me in ways that I don't think are right. She told me that she didn't think that he was capable of doing anything like that, and that she knew that I was lying. She made it very clear that I wasn't allowed to talk about it to anybody.
Not a word of this outside my house.
She's supposed to be my mom, so I would expect her to protect me and do something about it, and I didn't get that. I felt very sad and betrayed that my aunt I could go to and tell, because if she didn't believe me, who is gonna believe me? I couldn't trust nobody. This picture was me and my sister goofing off in our bedroom. I was roughly 12. If anybody else was looking at this photo, they would see a normal, happy child. Happy. It was a cover-up, but she had to pretend that she was happy. I was told not to tell nobody the truth, and I was scared of what was gonna happen if I did tell the truth. I felt like I was committing a crime, that I did something wrong and I would end up in jail. It was terrifying to live with that idea. One weekend when I was 12 or 13, some of my cousins and aunt and uncle came to visit, and it all changed when family was around. I remember one day we were outside playing, and there was this boy that caught my eye. I had a crush on him, and I think he had a crush on me too. We sat down talking, and things led up to another, and we started kissing. That was my first kiss. It felt funny, but it felt good at the same time. There was a lot of things in my life that weren't normal, but that felt normal and okay. I didn't realize that my cousin was watching, or she could even see us kissing. I pushed him away, and just all of a sudden I hear her screaming, "You're kissing a boy. I'm gonna go and tell." And I was like begging her not to tell my Aunt Laura and Uncle Chevel that I was kissing this boy, because I would get in serious trouble and maybe get a spanking. She didn't understand how severe my punishment was gonna be. I walked in and I remember seeing everybody in the living room. The look on my uncle's face when I got into the house, he looked very pissed off. Like his face was red in anger. It was the first time I've seen him that mad. I remember him saying was to put my hands on the couch. My Uncle Chevel took the beating way too far. In that moment, I did feel like it was very severe. The spanking stopped because somebody told him to stop hitting me, that was enough. At that moment, I thanked God that there was other people around to have him stop, because I didn't think he would stop spanking me. Feel that he was jealous that I was kissing this boy and maybe not him. After that day, I knew that it was not going to be okay for me to be doing normal things like other kids. I wasn't able to have a normal childhood because my Uncle Chevel wanted me for himself, and that wasn't normal. I had a best friend, and we were inseparable, and I didn't want her to go to my house. So I kind of kept her away on purpose from my house. I trusted her enough to tell her the truth. So that's what led me up to tell her.
I have to tell you something, but you promised not to say.
We're sitting together, and that's when I just told her the secret. She looked scared and said that wasn't right and it shouldn't be happening, so we should tell somebody, like her mom.
You can't.
And she just kept saying, no, we have to. It was very scary for me.
You have to say something.
I didn't want to get in trouble if they found out I told the secret. And then she finally said, okay, I promise I won't tell nobody. So I thought she kept that secret. My friend told her mom my secret. The mom reported it to Child Protective Services. We need to leave by tonight. So we did as we were told. There was no explanation on why or where we were going at all. And we moved from there. And I never got to see her again. I understand why she told her mom my secret. She was just trying to get me some help to maybe stop it. And that's what I wanted, was for it to stop. After that, what had kept me from telling anyone at school, teachers, friends, was that CPS would end. I was so embarrassed about what was going on. There was so many things I was afraid of to tell anybody. It was easier for me just to keep silent. There was one time that my aunt and uncle wanted to have a conversation. I was already in high school at that time.
Abby, come sit.
I remember my uncle looking serious. They both were serious. Told me I wasn't in trouble. We're just gonna have a conversation. The conversation started that I was going to have their baby because my aunt wasn't able to have kids. And I looked at her like if they were crazy. My jaw dropped and I was shocked. I didn't know what to think of that they want a teenager to have a baby for them. It was very shocking.
You can't do this.
I told her, "You're effing crazy. I'm not gonna have a baby." Yes, there's no saying no, there's no debate. That's end of conversation. There was like nothing I could do to stop it. I didn't feel like my body was mine. I felt like it was theirs. This was the moment when I realized that my aunt was just as evil as my uncle. And in my eyes, I felt they were both monsters. And I cried, "What's happening? Why is this happening?" Looking back now, I think that she knew and was aware of everything that was happening with him and me. And she chose to ignore it because she didn't want to lose my uncle's love. That makes her a monster. When I was pregnant, I did have a lot of feelings. I didn't want to be on earth no more. I was into me about if I told anybody that I would go to jail and the baby would end up in foster care. It was hard to hide the truth. If it came up, then I had to lie and say that I messed around with some other kid, from school or whatever. And I knew that was a lie. When I was going into labor, I was told not to tell anybody. They demanded it from me. So I didn't tell anybody, but I did want to. But my aunt and uncle were in the room the whole time. Happy. It felt amazing to hold my baby in my hands. I felt like I was on top of the world. I was able to hold her until the nurses walked out. Then my aunt ended up grabbing her. She took her and said that this is my baby. She'll be calling you sister when she grows up. I felt like I was really lost and used. They used me. At that time, I was taking care of the kids and my aunt and uncle and doing all the household chores. It was like if I was actually, it got worse. My aunt and uncle started making me do a ritual every night. I remember having to massage my aunt and uncle every night, that my hands would cramp up and I would get so uncomfortable and want to stop, but I wasn't able to. I felt on edge every night because it turned into something sexual with both of them and an uncle. I felt trapped, like I wasn't going to be able to get out or be a part of the real world. I never left the house unless it was with the family. I felt so scared. And this went on for years. Years. It got to me, but I was thinking about the kids. I didn't want to get separated from them or end up in jail and them in foster care like I did. Brainwashed, my uncle was putting things in my head, and I was believing them, and it just felt like I didn't have a mind of my own. Looking back, I wish I had run away. In this picture, it's me, my Aunt Laura, and my 3 kids. Years old in this picture. Just seeing her and her holding my kids. I was an outsider to them. I wasn't their mom. She was. And that's what this picture shows. It was hard for me to smile for any photo. I forced myself to make it seem that nothing was going on, hoping that one day I would get out for everyone. My uncle had explained to me he was going to kill me and the kids. He would slice our throats while we were sleeping. And I do believe he was capable of that. He was trying to scare me and not to telling anybody. And it worked. My aunt and uncle were religious. They were Catholics. So I was raised to say the rosary, and we went to Catholic church every Sunday. As my daughter was growing, miracles. It sounded really crazy to me. It did. I didn't know what she was talking about. My aunt and uncle put it out on Facebook. It got so big, my daughter wound up on the news.
Some believe God and the Virgen de Guadalupe has given Paige the gift of healing.
This is a plan he has for her, and the faith that she has in God.
People say, oh, the miracle child. She's not the miracle child. It's not her. It's just, she's God's vessel.
And just as quickly, we're reminded she's still a child. Mommy, what's...
It's heartbreaking to me to hear my daughter call her mommy. I haven't heard it in so long. And seeing how young my daughter was and seeing what she was doing made it so hard for me to see it again, because she would do that at least 6 to 7 hours a day. She was so innocent. She was being used for my daughter too, because she had to go through that. The people that were coming were ill and they wanted to be healed. But in reality, it wasn't real. She lured people in, and she was really good at it. It was all just a scam, just to get their money. Having dinner for, I believe it was his birthday, when me and Rudy were hiding our relationship from my aunt and uncle. I would wait till they left to work, and I would take the kids to school, and he would meet me down the street. Talking to him made me feel so safe. I wasn't used to it because I was not around safe men like Rudy. He just seemed very different and nice, sweet man. This was the guy living in. I had told him one time that there was a secret that I was holding in from him. And then I finally told him what was going on, and he said he wanted to help me and my kids get out of there because that wasn't right. He was very angry. But I told him there's nothing that I could do, because if he was to get involved or if I was to leave, they would find me and kill us all. When my uncle found out about me and Rudy, he lost his mind and grabbed a gasoline. He started pouring the gasoline around the house and yelling that I was a whore and a slut. And he was gonna burn us all if I didn't do what was told of me. If you don't stop seeing Rudy, I'm gonna burn this house down. And nobody... I felt like my uncle was psychotic. It was just crazy. In that moment, I believed he can do it, and he would. My aunt was able to calm him down and take him inside. After that, I knew I had to find a way to escape and protect my children. I was not safe in that house. My uncle needed to be in a mental house. I believed that my kids and myself were in danger. So I told Rudy, enough is enough. I'm done. I want to get out of here. My aunt and uncle were at work, and he told me, be ready. And that's what I did. I ended up getting a pair of clothes for me and maybe 2 to 3 pairs of clothes for my kids. And that's all I left with. I was scared for my life and Rudy's life and everybody's life in that house. I was worried that my uncle was gonna find out and come after me. I never knew if my uncle was planning to show up and kill us. I held this secret in for so long that when I finally went to the police department to tell my secret, I was terrified. I was afraid that they wouldn't believe me. I was shaking in fear because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna get in trouble as well. I was still in that mindset that my uncle told me I would go to jail too. I was still in my mind. After telling the cops, I realized that he had been lying to me and was wrong. I cried in disbelief. It was finally over. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And I still couldn't believe it until we went to trial and actually saw them in their orange suits with their handcuffs on. Seeing him like that in court, that he wasn't gonna make nobody hurt no more. The prosecutor had asked me if I wanted to do an impact statement. I wanted them to hear from my voice. This is my impact statement to my Uncle Chevo. You were supposed to be my guardian and my father, to raise me and to take care of me. Chevo, you tormented me and tortured me for more than a decade. You are a monster. You will not hurt me or my two beautiful, wonderful daughters and anyone else innocent. I'm sorry. And take anyone else's innocent away from them. It was hard to read this in the courtroom because I was face to face with him. And the coward that he is couldn't even look up and acknowledge that I was there, but I was fine with it. It just felt like I needed to tell him these words and let him know what he was. It helped me cope just a tiny bit, just to let him know he was a monster, he was a coward, and that he wasn't going to do this to anybody else. And he got what he deserved. When I heard their sentences, I felt like I got my justice. But he didn't spend that much time in prison because he died. I was pissed off because I wanted him to suffer longer, like he made me suffer all these years. But don't forget, because God sees that. I forgive these evil people. I'm healing myself for forgiving them. It's for me to let go of everything that they have done to me. Rudy gave me the courage to start fighting again, knowing that there was something to fight for and not to give up. I feel without Rudy, I would still be there at that house with my aunt and uncle. He's been a rock for me. My brother and sister and I don't have much of a relationship anymore. And I just wish I had that with them. But now my kids and my husband are my world. I couldn't be here without them. My life now, I never thought it was possible. I never thought I would raising my kids and teaching them right from wrong. I don't want my kids to ever think that I regretted having them. I, in a million years, will never regret having kids because I love them so much and I'll do anything for them. They help me heal. They help me be happy. I live for them. I leave the past in the past for them, so I could get up and make my kids happy. Stories, and I want them to be okay with, getting the help that they need when it's time for them to speak out. I'm very hopeful that they see this and they won't be so scared to tell the story that they went through.
He definitely aspired to be like Ted Bundy. What a mean son of a bitch. This is the face of evil right here. You're